And we are live. Welcome on your TV sets in Texas and Louisiana. We are on the Smart Money Culture TV network. Hats off to our main man, Fly Mackey, the man with the plan, Fly Mackey, for setting all that up. I love telling the story, of course. Fly and I met 5 years ago, I think. 5 years ago, as I was running a stage there at World CryptoCon in Las Vegas. And he calls me 5 years later. He says, Bruce, I got the TV networks. He kept talking to me about the TV. Oh, we're going to do the TV. And I got the TV. We're going to do the crypto and the finance and everything else. And finally, 5 years later, he calls me up. He says, Bruce, I got it. Let's go. Let's do the show. Let's get you on TV. And that has been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun since we started that. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. It's great to have our main man Matt Dixon on as well. Working with Matt is an absolute pleasure too. So we have a busy day in the world, and working with my brother as well. David Porter is also a lot of fun. We have a lot going on. Of course, things are moving forward with our gala as well, our Washington Elite Gala there in Austin. That is going to be absolutely. It's just turning out to be a really, really great event. Absolutely fantastic. We've done a lot of things over the years with disabled kids, autistic kids, and blind people, including veterans, a lot of veterans, disabled veterans, blind veterans over the years. And that's going to continue. So that's super exciting as well. It is a very good investor relations event. It brings together all types of different funds. We have over 30 different funds, liquidity providers, exchanges, and notable people that are coming in there. So the markets are roaring. They love the CPI data that came out. Of course, they can put whatever, like we kind of said yesterday, they can put whatever data they want to on that thing. 3.4 inflation is not really realistic. It's not what we're all feeling, right? But anyway, markets loved it for now. We'll see what Matt has to say. I think that'll probably continue for a little while. We have Trump and Biden. Biden has agreed to a debate, which is really kind of funny. I mean, the guy, right? I mean, whether you like Biden or not, I mean, whatever. But I mean, he doesn't really talk that well. That's for sure. And it was interesting because actually I saw a clip of I guess one of the Trump Biden debates from last time, and it's really interesting because I don't know, did they do some kind of like weird voodoo on us? Like, I don't remember those debates at all. Like, do you remember those debates? It's weird. It is weird. Let me see here. Time. I just pull it up right here because it's worth looking at, I think. Yeah, like let's see here. Debate. What kind of magic is it? Anyway, if I can pull it up quickly, I will. But otherwise, I'm not going to bother. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, it's not popping up on me real quickly. If I remember how to pull it, I will. But anyway, it's Trump, and he's on there, and he says, you're the one getting paid from China. You're the one getting paid from Russia. You're the one getting paid from these people. You're making millions and millions of dollars. You're the ones getting paid from Ukraine. I'm not getting paid from these people, but you're getting paid from these people. And Trump, he just pulls it right out, right? So yeah, pretty interesting, really. So they're going to have their debate. There's going to be one in June, and there's going to be one in September. And I think talk about blockbuster events, right? Like, these things they're going to be sold out. They should put them on pay-per-view because everybody's going to watch it. Everybody. Right? And that's another reason why I've pretty much consistently said, even as far-fetched as it seems, that I do think that it's likely that even with the magic electronic voting machines and the 20 million people that have entered illegally under this administration, and the mail-in ballots, which are a massive amount of mail-in ballots, I still kind of think that Trump wins this time. Let him win might be the way to say it. And one of the main reasons is because it's easier. It's an easier play. It's easier. If he doesn't win, then you have the right or his supporters they're going to be really upset, right? And I mean, I don't know if they're going to protest or not, but it seems fairly likely. I don't know, but if he does win, then we'll still have some protest. But that faction of America, and those are the gun-toting guys. Those are the old boys. You know, those are the. We have a lot of crazy people in the country. But anyway, they will sit back and let things play out, which is exactly kind of like, I was never a Q supporter, right? I always felt like Q was controlled opposition. I told everybody that for a long time. This is controlled opposition. But I think that's I mean, that is like the easiest play for everybody. Trump gets in, you make sure you can't do anything. Maybe you lose the Senate and the House. It really doesn't even matter if you don't lose the Senate or House anyway, because you see, it doesn't matter if we have the House or not. They're still putting the same programs forward. So it doesn't really matter. But I think that's probably the big play. That would be the best play. So we'll see how that works out. But these guys are going to debate supposedly in June and September. Trump is, of course, still in court for this hush money trial. Interesting thing about this hush money trial is, to me, I mean, I don't know. So I guess they're saying that Trump paid off Stormy Daniels with money, and then Cohen put it down as a retainer, and that was the illegal part of it, I guess. I mean, that does probably break some laws there. So if that did happen, then, you know, but I don't know. I mean, you have it's kind of funny, right? You got the porn star and the forger. But I don't know. It's a king. It's like reality TV. It's hard to even really talk about, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. The judge is going to do whatever he's going to do. It doesn't really have much to do, I think, personally, anything to do with the facts of the matter. I mean, but whatever. Putin is in China. I think that is also that is pretty interesting. So Putin is in China. Putin is in China, and this handshake is really something else. I do like looking at handshakes. I'm going to pull this one up here. I think this is pretty, you know, you have these two guys, and I've said it. I don't know if I've said it on the air, but we're in the age of the what's the word I want? Here it is. I think this is the handshake. We're in the age of the strong man. For lack of a better word, the word is not coming to me that I want. Here, this will work. We're in the age of a strongman. So the most dominant men in the world are guys that are big, strong, or, you know, authoritarian type of people, right? I did find this, so I'm going to play this here for us. We can look at it as I'm talking. Share screen, and the dictator. It's the age of the dictator. This is from Taiwan Plus News. It's Taiwan. Taiwan, of course, is not very friendly with China. Chinese President President Xi Jinping has told President Vladimir Putin of Russia that China will always be a good friend and neighbor. That's as Putin arrives in Beijing for a 2-day state visit.
Chinese President Xi Jinping told Russian President Vladimir Putin that China will always be a good friend and neighbor to Russia. The two leaders are meeting in Beijing in Putin's first foreign visit after winning another term in March. The two leaders are expected to discuss Ukraine, energy, and trade. His trip follows one by US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to China last month. Blinken warned Beijing against deepening military support for Russia. Political analysts say Putin's visit will test ties between Beijing and Moscow, as China tries to remain close with Russia while also avoiding Western-led sanctions over Ukraine. Chinese President.
It's the age of the dictator. So you have the two big guys there. They are meeting in China. And Putin says that they are a calming force on the world. And it's an interesting statement because you got to kind of sit back and say, with this bunch that we have in Washington and this bunch that we have over in Israel and the Ukraine and in the EU, he's right. Or at least it appears that he's right. Sounds good. Anyway, went to a bankers. I know me of all people, but I got invited by a good guy, and I went to a bankers event yesterday. And you should have heard this. This was pretty funny, and I actually won't mention anybody specifically because I don't want to call anybody out. But this was pretty interesting because this actually gives you insight into the thinking of people here in Washington and the people that are making the regulations and making the rules and everything else. This I thought was very interesting. So the consensus was the gentleman gets up and he starts speaking, okay, and he's speaking about how there's layers and layers of administration, and it's like it's too much. There's like the bureaucracy that has taken over Washington. You have every new president that comes in, every new administration brings they bring a whole new set of new people. And if you think about it, like, Bush, he brought in the TSA, he brought in, we had the Homeland Defense, and then you had Obama, and Obama brought in, all the different places that he brought in. And then you had Bush or Trump, and then Trump made Space Force, and he made this. And so there's all these new levels of bureaucracy, and that's just me off the cuff. I mean, there's a lot more, right? Every president, but it never gets smaller. And so this I was listening. I was like, wow, this guy's, he's right. Look at this. We got this central banker, and he's right. And of course, I'm like there in disguise, global news media. Yes, I'm not going against you. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I am who I am, fairly well known, I suppose. But I'm decentralized media, non-censorship media, everything else. But it was great to be there. But the point of me telling you about this was he goes on and on about the administrative state, which I talk about all the time. Some people call it the deep state, the administrative state, and how it's out of control and nobody can get anything done. And they don't know there's so many parts of the administration states and different bureaus and different agencies that they don't even know how to work with each other, right? They don't even know how to work with each other. And then he tells us what his solution is. And his solution was another layer of bureaucracy to manage all of the other layers of bureaucracy. It was like so fitting. It was so fitting because that is the thinking of the bureaucrat. That is the thinking. You never just say, let's close the agency. Let's close that. Let's, it never goes down. That's why your taxes always go up. They never go down. I don't know. Maybe that's why every country fails after a while. I don't know. I mean, I think it's part of it. So the answer to the out of control bureaucracy and the endless regulations and the tons of jobs that mean nothing is to create another layer of bureaucracy and manage all of the layers of bureaucracy. I was laughing to myself. Everyone thought it was a great idea. We're talking really smart people Really smart people. There's one thing in life that I've gotten to the point where I really enjoy being around smart people. I always liked it, but I really enjoy it. I love being around smart people. I don't need to agree with you. As a matter of fact, I don't know what it says about me, but I don't agree with a lot of smart people. But they like me anyway, so I must be fairly smart. Because smart people like being around smart people. We like to be around people whose brains think fast, who talk fast, who can take a conversation and come back with something. And that's what we like. And so I really enjoyed that part of it. But it was really interesting. I mean, what? And the whole room thought it was a great idea. I mean, it appeared like the whole room thought that was a great idea. So now we're going to create another level of bureaucracy. This bloating bureaucracy that we have here in Washington. It's out of control. Spending is out of control. People have jobs they can never get fired from. And we're going to create another level, and that's going to be the answer. So anyway, that is an insight into how everybody thinks here. And that's why it's really hard for somebody to come to Washington and fire people. You don't want to be known as the person who takes the jobs away from people. But the government should not be in the place of providing jobs for everybody. That doesn't work. That's not a winning combination. You want the private sector to create the jobs, and you want the government to stay the heck out of it. Anyway, let's talk more about the markets. We have the great Matt Dixon of Evade.io. Why don't I see it? Did I do something here?
You must have done, because I'm here.
You're here. I know. I see. Let me see here.
Hello there. You've got me. Now I've lost you, I think.
All right. Hold on. Hey, here we go. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. I'll change the cameras a little bit. I'll change it up a little bit and make it more fun. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good to be here again. I'm actually really interested listening to some of your insights there. So I was looking at, because you talked about data, we had CPI data out yesterday showing inflation falling. We'll go into that in a minute. But I was actually looking at the Federal Reserve, and they're saying that household wealth has grown substantially in the past 4 years. Then the very next article I read, so this is the Fed saying household wealth has grown. People are better off than they've ever been. They've got more money to spend. And then there's a scientific study. This was a scientific paper written saying that the middle class continues to shrink and the standard of living continues to decrease. So it's really interesting. It's just depending on what you read. So I suppose at the end of the day, it comes down to what do you actually experience yourself? There's no point reading about if someone's telling you you're better off and you're not, you know yourself.
Well, it's exactly right. And it was funny because, you're in there and in this level of society, right? Everybody is on the dole and everybody, whatever they're making, it's, that's the deal. And it's a good amount. And everybody, it's funny. I mean, I've been here a long time, but it was funny to go back in there. And it was certainly funny to be around a bunch of central bankers who of course I rail against every day. But, yeah, I mean, that's you never want to come, they never want to come to Washington and lose jobs, right? Nobody wants to be known as the person who takes the jobs away.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense.
I've jumped into my screen. I trust you can see that.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
That is nice. That was Bitcoin. And remember yesterday I was talking, I know, whatever you're saying about the figures being fake, whatever, but we still anticipated what those figures were going to be. And I said they're going to be better than expected. They were a bit better than expected. Some measures of inflation were down. We'll take a quick look at those figures in a minute. But the actual result was amazing. And it's actually as expected that we...
And I did want to say real quick, because someone just commented on my post. And so before I get sidetracked, I did want to say they did drop that there would be 2 interest rate cuts. That's what they're saying now. 2 interest rate cuts before the end of the year. One of them as late as September, because they said that Jerome Powell is not political, and he does not care if it's close to the election at all. It's not political.
Yeah.
It's not political.
So they've gone from 5 cuts to 3 cuts
to
2 cuts. Yeah, they've gone 5, then 3, now 2. So let's see what, I mean, inflation is still way, way above target. I mean, 3.4%, I think you said, and target is 2%. So it's still way above. So they can't
said that's
really.
okay. And if it wasn't for them, everything would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Anyway. And they said that mortgage rates would drop. They said that the new target they're predicting now, it's not going to be 3%. It's going to be 5%.
5%
for the mortgage rates.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead. Didn't mean to jump in there, but it was.
No, that's okay. It's good. So as I say, we got Bitcoin jumping from 62,000 something yesterday. It's now 66,000 and change. So really, really good rise that we've had, and it's pretty much reflected across the board. But Bitcoin is still, it has been leading the way. And we're seeing a bit of a mixed bag today, but we'll go through those. I just want to touch on ETF flows. So yesterday was a really good day. We had 303 million positive inflows into the ETFs. The only concern I have here is that this is very much institutional flow. And it is good actually to see. So we see GBTC actually had positive flows, and for a long, long time, GBTC money was bleeding from the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, the Bitcoin, well, now the ETF, was bleeding and was going from there into others. But now GBTC is actually getting positive flows. So we got one of the biggest inflows, if not the biggest, of 303 million yesterday. And that was pretty much off the back of the news. So the biggest inflow was from Fidelity, and you can see all the others. It's been, there's a lot of money flowing in. As I say, it's a little bit worrying that this is all institutional money flowing in. That's great, but we would like to see retailers benefiting from this as well. And I just fear that if it's true what they're saying about Bitcoin reaching 250,000 and even north of that, then it seems that retailers will be missing out. And it's actually the institutions that are piling in millions every day. So with all these millions piling in and the fundamentals behind Bitcoin being so strong, whichever way you look, and the technicals looking really good as well, it does look as though there's not an awful lot to hold Bitcoin back. And it's only something like geopolitical issues that can hold it. So we are beginning to see, as I said yesterday, weakening of the inflation data is coming down a little bit, whether that's true or not. But actually the headline data, which is what the markets are focusing on, is coming down a bit. Inflation actually fell a bit. It was pretty much in line with expectations. In fact, what I'll do, I'll just jump over and have a look at where we were yesterday. I'll expand these out so you can probably see them a bit better. But this was the inflation rate yesterday. As you say, it's 3.4%. I'm just expanding that so you can see it properly. So inflation of 3.4%. Expectations is actually in line with expectation there. So you can see that inflation is definitely way above target. It's supposed to be 2%. We haven't seen 2% now for over a year. And if we move through, we can see that PPI obviously was way above target at 0.5% there, and the expectation was 0.3%. So these were the, this again was the Fed, just to go back to what Jerome Powell had to say. He's now talking about 2 rises this year as against 5, and then they reduce it to 3, now 2. Most people I've been talking to have been saying that actually we're probably unlikely to see any rises this year, any reductions this year in interest rates. If that's the case, it's not a good thing. But I actually take a different view. I do think that the economy is beginning to slow, and we've seen all the signs of that.
Let me just, it seems I don't know if you switched your tab, but now we have the one you're sharing is a, you know how it does the photo within a photo. It's actually the StreamYard link. You're on a different tab, I guess.
Okay, is that okay? If you can't see that, no problem. We'll go back to charting. Let me just go back to charting. So I assume you can probably see the charts again there.
No.
Okay, I think you're having some issues today, to be honest.
Can you? It's possible. Can you take it out and then? Yeah, there you go. Now well, okay. I saw the charts for a second. Go ahead and.
Okay, and then I stopped sharing, so I'm gonna have to reshare again. I'll just jump straight back into resharing.
Perfect.
Entire screen share, and hopefully you should be able to see my Bitcoin screen again.
I see the Bitcoin screen again. Those lovely green candles.
Yeah. So what I did do
now
then,
it went back.
Yeah. So what I then did.
All right, gotcha.
Was share this, and these were the figures. Okay, good. So these were the figures yesterday. So we can see the expectations down the middle. We can see the previous levels on the right-hand column. So core inflation. So core inflation is basically excluding food and energy. Mosquito, I think that's after all the rains that we've had. But the core inflation excludes food and energy, which is obviously probably a bit ridiculous because we actually do consume food and energy. We need those things to live these days.
Pretty important.
Yeah, but we can see, in line with expectation, then the rate itself in line. We had retail sales falling. When I say falling, well, not falling, they were flat actually. So whilst they had increased, previously was 0.6%, they expected 0.4%, but actually fell flat. So people are spending less money, it seems. And this would probably align with your analysis that people are concerned about the money they have, that prices have gone higher, there isn't much money to spend, much money left. So retail sales have fallen flat. And then we can see all the other metrics there that basically, if anything, inflation has fallen slightly, certainly lower than met or lower than expectations. So that is kind of what was expected. So we thought we were going to get a really good pump. I won't go into all the others now. We'll just head back to the main screen for the charts. So that was Bitcoin. We've seen some really good ones. Actually, the eBay platform highlighted some major upgrades yesterday. And it's actually amazing the way the AI system works. And it was able to identify, without actually feeding in any fundamental data, like CPI or anything like that, it was actually able to anticipate the pump that was coming. And so we got some really good upgrades on a number of tokens. I posted them on my X channel yesterday ahead of time, and they came in really nicely. So we did see a pump yesterday. We see from the bottom, we got some upgrades, and we saw a really good pump on ICP. We're seeing a bit of a pullback today, but as I say, the bias seems to be very much more towards Bitcoin at the moment because it's the only channel to get institutional money in. But we also said we got a really good upgrade, and we mentioned it, I think, yesterday on the show about Litecoin. It was down here, and I was saying that basically this is a corrective move down. We would expect an impulse to the upside. That impulse has been really powerful. So we can see the big green candles here on Litecoin, and that would probably be expected to go higher. This level around here is now the resistance that we need to break through. And we would expect it to do that in the, probably even before the weekend, perhaps, but relatively soon anyway. We'd expect it to break through that overhead resistance and push higher. Ethereum has been dogged a little bit by these regulatory concerns, and I think we should definitely talk a little bit more about the regulation and lack of regulation. It's really, I personally believe it's absolutely shocking. You talked about preaching the other day. Well, I'm going to preach again how shocking I think it is that regulators can say, we're not going to tell you what the regulations are. We're not going to tell you the rules. Then in future, well, now what we're going to say is, when we decide what the rules are, if you broke them in the past, we're actually going to send you to jail. And people have gone to jail. It is absolutely disgusting that they're saying, we don't have to tell you what the law is. But then if we decide you've broken the law, you go to jail. I mean, what sort of country is this? What sort of world is it we're living in that they can get away with this crap? It's absolutely disgraceful and disgusting. And how can business possibly operate under those conditions? I think it's an absolute disgrace.
And that's why That's why people are scared to do business here. I mean, I don't blame them. I'm stuck here, but if you're not here, I'd be scared to do business here too.
Yeah, crypto needs to go to somewhere that supports crypto, like Dubai, like Switzerland, like Singapore, these sort of places. There's a lot of great innovation that goes on. It's the future of money, as we've said. It's there's decentralization. Get away from this nasty centralized power, corrupt power. But as I say, I just cannot understand how you can basically do your best to do business, and then they say retrospectively you broke the laws, and you say, what laws? And you say, well, there weren't laws then, but we just made up some laws that you broke in the past, so you're going to jail. This is true. You wouldn't believe it, but that's actually what's happened, and it's an utter disgrace. So people are genuinely scared now about whether the authorities are going to go after them retrospectively, saying you broke a law which wasn't in place at the time, but now we put the law in place. Retrospectively, we're going to prosecute you, and that's what's happening. But anyway, one of our favorites, Solana. We've been talking about it's being a corrective move down. I talked about overlapping yesterday. I said we're going to get a pump in Solana because this is just a corrective move down, and lo and behold, what an amazing pump from 140 to 160. I mean, whatever percentage that is, 20% nearby, 15, 20% in a day.
A lot. Absolutely. A lot.
It's a lot, yeah. So amazing. We've seen gold just coming off a little bit.
Yep.
And that's because inflation concerns are tapering a little bit because CPI came in a little bit lower than expected. It came in on the kind side. So maybe we'll get, as I have actually been saying, we're probably due a bit of a pullback on gold. But longer term, this is a corrective move down. Even if we see a substantial move down, we're going to rise again because it's all corrective. So I do believe that we are going to rise to new all-time highs on gold and precious metals. And this is all just part of maybe a larger corrective move. I mean, think about it. We've seen a massive rally. I think I heard you say on, was it yesterday's show or a nearby show, 20% in gold this year. So
yeah, over 20%, over 23% on both gold and silver.
Yeah, so it's actually healthy to have a bit of a pullback. Maybe we get a bit of a pullback now on gold, and that would mean probably a little bit of a relief from these recessionary worries. It's not recessionary, sorry, inflationary worries. We've got more recessionary worries actually coming about. I've said and I've predicted that we will see recession probably this year. The economy is slowing virtually every single direction you look at the economy now. It's beginning to slow, and even retail sales. There's not a lot of data out. It's summer now, and there's a bit of a lack of data to drive the markets. I think the next data is due out a week tomorrow. Next sort of reasonably important data. But there's not a lot to drive the markets. The markets may drift a little bit, but I still think that Bitcoin, because of this, I think institutions are actually stocking up while Bitcoin is relatively cheap. And you could say relatively cheap, nearly 70,000 when it came from nothing just a few years ago. Well, just think about relatively cheap to where it could be in a year or two's time. And they've said that if these financial institutions were to hold just a couple of percent, just a few small percent in proper regular diversification within their portfolios, that could drive Bitcoin to, I heard, over $300,000. So, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be stocking up at these levels, and it'd be a shame for retail to miss out. Yes, we know Bitcoin's expensive, 60-odd thousand, but you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. And it doesn't have to be Bitcoin. There's all sorts of things related to Bitcoin, and there's other good cryptocurrencies. And eventually, I'm sure the regulatory minefield will clear a little bit, and maybe we will get that Ethereum ETF next. Maybe not as soon as we initially hoped, but these are, maybe this will come through fairly soon. So that's gold. As we've always said, gold and oil seem to be reasonably correlated. And look at oil. Again, we just tagged this support. We talked about this support a few times where we've had this ABC moved down, it seems to be, it could potentially actually even be a 5-wave move here now to the downside. If that's the case, then we're definitely looking to see some more downside to come. But if we have 5 waves and it tagged, as I say, this was a support we had drawn in a long time ago. We almost tested it once. We tested it almost precisely yesterday. You can see there, just tested it pretty well precisely, bounced higher. But if that's 5 waves down, as we can see, potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we would expect a bit of a correction higher, but not above this high, and then a further move down. So I think that we're probably going to see continued softening of inflation moving forward, which would bolster my idea that inflation is going to reduce and that growth is going to reduce and the economy is going to slow, and that all those signs that we talked about over and over again, I won't go into them again, but all of those signs saying recession is coming will actually happen. How can this time be different from the last 12 recessions we've had since the 1940s? How can this time be so different to all of those other occasions where the signs predicted recession? We have those same signs, indicators in place now predicting recession. Why would this be different? And even the fact that it's a presidential election year, even though it's this particular year, we still, it still can't rock the boat in terms of these fundamental factors that are in place. So oil is also looking, we've already gone below the 50, below the 100, and we're actually below the 200-day moving average now. Actually, if I put it onto daily, that's 4 hours, sorry. It's not quite as bad as that, but actually we are pretty well there. So yes, we are actually below the 200-day moving average as well. So oil is looking negative on a number of fronts. That's telling me that probably growth is slowing, inflation may be less of a problem, and growth is going to be the big issue moving forward. I think I'm done with my time, haven't I, Bruce? I don't want to overrun, but there's, again...
Yeah, we're gonna play another one as well, but it's you go ahead and wrap it up there on the next one.
Yeah, so we'll just touch finally then on DXY, because dollar index, again, if the economy is slowing, then we're likely to see dollar index coming down. And it looks like from the bottom here, we've got some kind of, basically it's an ABC higher, so we're expecting further downside to come. And that's what this little arrow was telling us. We actually indicated it was going to move down from here, from where this arrow was. That was in place before the move happened. Price has moved down. In other words, dollar has weakened substantially. So this was telling us, charts are telling us before the news comes out, and this is why I was reasonably confident yesterday, saying that CPI was going to be weaker than expected, and that's precisely what happened. We saw here that dollar was going to come down because the charts were telling us so, and that's what happened. So the charts are actually quite predictive, and as I said yesterday, the charts will tell you what's going to happen. You then need to wait for the fundamental data for the actual excuse, or should I say the reason for the actual move to happen. So you see a chart pattern, you expect the movement to happen, then you wait for fundamental data to actually drive it to happen. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. So technical charting is good. It doesn't predict precisely, but it does. It tells you, it gives you a pretty good idea of overall direction, and also it helps you structure your risk reward, so you know what the risk is, and if the risk is in your favor, it's all about probabilities. It's not gambling, even though it's probabilities. It's not gambling, because gambling is purely chance, and trading isn't purely chance. Trading is, there's a lot of research and effort and playing the probabilities in your favor to make sure that you profit from these trading situations. And I suppose I did say that finally, just very finally, we did, at long last, we've seen a bit of a wake up from XRP. It dipped to 49 yesterday. It's 51.70 now, 51.70 cents that is now. So a good start for XRP. And I think we're probably going to see some follow through to the upside on crypto, led by Bitcoin, of course.
Nice. I think Yeah, XRP is gonna lead the way. It could lead the way. If XRP takes off, then the whole market's gonna follow. That's my prediction. Anyway,
Doggy's hanging back a bit today, Bruce, but 15 cents. But we've seen a really book of memes is rocketing away 7.6% upside, and that's one of my favorites. It's now got a real good use case. There's the games and all sorts involved with that. So there's some good investment opportunities. As I say, when you see a good pullback in ABC form, which is corrective, it's really good to jump into those. Some of those meme coins that actually have transformed or evolved from being just a meme coin to having a real utility, and that they're very exciting investment prospects, I think.
Awesome. Well, really cool. I have queued up here 1inch, one of our favorite aggregators, Tanner Moore. Great interview that we did out in Paris Blockchain Week.
Yeah, great decks. Look forward to hearing that. Thank you,
Awesome.
Bruce. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and look forward to catch up tomorrow.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much, Sir Matt the Great. I'm going to bring on Tanner Moore. I met Tanner Moore in Paris, and he is with 1inch. And if you guys have, if you've been in crypto long enough, you've definitely used 1inch. 1inch is a aggregator. There are now a lot of other stuff. I'm going to let him introduce it more than me. He says it. He has his line on it. We had a great time. Actually, you can tell in the interview. Here he is, Tanner Moore with 1inch.
Easy for him.
My computer's having a hard time, huh?
Easy for him. Look at this guy. And we are back here at the Paris Blockchain Week. Wonderful event. I'll tell you what, so many great people here, and so much money is flowing back into space. Very nice to see. We had a great party last night, the Shoe Network Bandcamp after party, and then of course, as I've said, the Louvre Museum was absolutely unbelievable. What they had for the VIP event, the private showing there was unbelievable. So I have with me here Tanner Moore. Tanner Moore is with 1inch. He's done a variety of different things for them. And 1inch, if you guys are like me, and been in the crypto space, 1inch is like, it saved you a lot of money over the years, okay? And it's iconic. It's one of the major aggregators, one of the major brands in the space. So tell me a little bit, Tanner, about, let's say, 1inch in general, and then what brought you here to the Paris Blockchain Week.
Sure. Yeah. So 1inch is a network of decentralized protocols. We're most known for our aggregator. That's where we started back in 2019 at a hackathon in New York, actually.
Wow.
And it was the team at the time was 2, maybe 3 people. And since then, we've grown to around 150.
Yeah.
And we built a lot more than just our aggregator, which that's why we come to conferences to, talk about all the cool products that we've made outside of just the thing people know us for.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the kind of answers your second part too, So we want to keep spreading brand awareness. We just launched our 1inch crypto debit card, where people can basically use in Europe. They can use their crypto as a credit card, and it just converts your crypto in your wallet at the time of the point of sale to fiat. So if you actually want to hold all your net worth in Bitcoin and Ether, you can now spend that at the same time too. So it's pretty cool. It's non-custodial. It's a cool product.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's I always used to say that, like back in the day. I was like, when I am able to take my wife out to dinner and spend my crypto, then we're going to be arrived. Now, looking back on it, I'm glad they didn't make it so easy, because I'd have a lot less crypto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like one of the double-edged swords that they had for us. But so 1inch, I mean, it's so 2019, so pretty interesting. A lot of new products. I want to take that out of the box in a minute. But what is your role? What do you do for the company?
So right now I'm in developer relations. So I'm building out SDKs to make it easier to integrate with our APIs. And then I also, get to talk to all of our community, all the different developers, and try to kind of ease that process along and figure out how to make it best for them.
That must be so fun. You're dealing with so many really smart people, right?
Absolutely.
That are doing really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And you're the liaison between them and corporate kind of. Or...
Yeah. It's a fun role, because not a lot of people can do the tech side and talk to people at the same time. So it's well, before I started this, I really couldn't talk to people either. So I've grown a lot, actually.
You never guess.
No. The first time I ever went to a conference, I actually tried to decline multiple times. They're like, no, just go. And then it ended up kind of being fun. So I stuck around. Yeah.
They are fun, right?
Yeah.
So you're based in Colorado, and so that's cool. 1 inch is here at Paris Blockchain Week. Do you guys have like a set schedule? I mean, is it like, are they doing conferences every month as they roll out these new products?
Our event schedule is a little bit random, but we tend to go to quite a bit. I think this year we're going to wind down a little bit on our conference circuit, but we're going to be at DevCon in Bangkok. We're going to be at ECC in Brussels. We're going to Token 2049, which is in Dubai, like a week from now. I won't be at that one, but 1 inch will be there. 1 inch will be there, yeah. And so we try to just keep our brand awareness high, and then whenever we launch stuff, we got to add that on to the stuff we get to talk to people about. Yeah.
Really cool. Well, yeah, and obviously a great strategy. So talk to me a little bit about maybe the products that you're most excited about that are launching.
With 1 inch specifically. Okay, so like I said, the crypto debit card.
Okay.
That's really cool. That's coming out in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Something else that launched is 1 inch Fusion. That launched about a year ago now, but we're still kind of pushing it to make sure that people know about it. That's intent-based swapping, which to the common user just means gasless swapping. So you can swap tokens on Ethereum now and other EVM chains, and you don't have to worry about having native gas tokens inside of your wallet. You don't need to worry about paying the gas. It's kind of all abstracted away and done for you.
Okay.
So we're just slowly moving closer and closer to trying to improve that UX for mass adoption, right? Because crypto today it's complicated, right? It's hard to get new people in.
I didn't even know that 1 inch was doing that. That's been like that for a year.
Yeah. So on our website, by default, it uses that, but you can also use our traditional aggregator. But to the user, it doesn't matter because they're still going to get the same great rate. They're kind of two systems that solve the same problem.
So historically, what degens or whatever you want to call us, have used 1 inch for is to get ahead of the bots and stuff like that. Because if you do any amount of maybe 10,000 or 5,000 or more buy, a lot of times you're not getting the rate that you think you if you just go right to Uniswap, because they'll have the bots that go in and they front run you.
Yeah.
And 1 inch would help us get ahead of a lot of those bots.
Yeah. So it still by default leaves you vulnerable to bots, actually.
Okay.
But 1 inch Fusion solves that. Using private mempool solves that. And what the aggregator really solves is slippage, right? And price impact, which just means as you buy into a pool, the more you dig into that liquidity in the pool, the more you swing the price, right? Yeah. So if you do those $5,000 buys, those $10,000 buys, we can split your liquidity to multiple pools, right? So you do 100 from this pool, 1,000 from this pool, 200 from this pool, and then you get minimal price impact across like a big token pair. So the bigger your buy, the more valuable 1 inch has because of that ability to minimize price impact.
Yeah, so if you're doing any type of trading on these dexes, you can already see how important something like that is. So really cool stuff. So, and what's your story? How long have you been in crypto?
I joined crypto in 2017 originally and lost all my money, of course. I said,
welcome.
Yeah.
That's your welcome. Yeah. But you'll make it back and lose it again, trust me, and then make it back.
Yeah, and so I said, F the space. I'm going to go do my own thing outside of crypto now. And then in 2019, I just kind of casually checked back in on crypto again, and I was like, hey, it's still here, right? It didn't go to zero. It's still here. Right. And I was like, okay, instead of just buying, all the random coins, they weren't meme coins, but they were certainly garbage coins everywhere. Instead of trying to find the next 100x, I was like, okay, let me focus on the stuff that really shows staying power. And that ended up being Ethereum for me. Yeah. And so I live in Denver, obviously, and there's a really big conference called ETH Denver, right?
Denver.
And so, shout out to ETH Denver, really cool conference. And it's free to attend. So my friends and I were like, let's just go check it out. Let's see what we got going on there. And I just saw the most incredible group of people, passionate people who want to build cool stuff on blockchains, cool projects, funding everywhere. And I was like, this is a real industry, it isn't just this thing that's a toy that people are playing with. And sure, there's speculation, but there's something else there, right? And that's kind of when you get crypto pilled, is when you see there's something more than just imaginary money, right? And so for me, that was ETH Denver, that was Ethereum. And then I just really started studying the space, building on the space. And then I eventually found my way to 1 inch. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, the magic internet money, as we call it. Magic internet money.
Yeah,
it's easy to make magic internet money. Hard to keep it up there. It's easy to make it.
That is very true. Yes, I mean, I had a lot of money at one point, and then it just, gone.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Well, the interesting part is, when you've been in for so long as well, part of that, a lot of times, is just people stealing it.
Yes.
It's like it's not even that
OG's
the coins,
getting robbed.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not even that the coins went to zero. It's that your freaking wallet went to zero
Yes.
because somebody that you trusted or whatever.
There's so
or
many
you
ways,
did
right?
something wrong.
Yeah.
And boom, you're out. Yeah.
Bad project, bad signature. You know, I mean, it's just so many different ways you can lose it. You know,
Yeah.
I even heard a story recently of some guy who he deleted his browser wallet, and he didn't realize that it's synced across all of his browsers, right? So it deleted it from his laptop and his computer. So he goes, "Oh, I'll just go get the seed phrase." He couldn't find the seed phrase. Gone. So you can even rob from yourself. You know? It's a pretty unique.
No. I can tell you stories that make you cry. For sure. We all have. I mean, yeah. Anyway. So now as moving forward, 1 inch there, obviously your onboarding it's all decentralized. So, you know, how does that work for you guys? We talk about brand recognition and everything. How can you tell how much market penetration you guys are making?
So you just have to use like a lot of different metrics on chain, right? So Dune Analytics is a great platform. It shows, you know, the activity going on chain, right? So we know the volume going through our contracts, right? I think we processed over $300 billion worth of swaps now, right? So that already shows we have product market fit.
Right.
And then there's other things like aggregators of aggregators, which that goes kind of deep, but we can see how well we pair up against other aggregators in the space to see, you know, what's our market share relatively, right? So we know we have product market fit for our tool, but do we do well against our competitors? And the answer is actually yes. We're usually north of 50% when you look on chain on protocols like CowSwap, where, you know, they put all the aggregators against each other, and then that also goes on chain who wins there, right? So the really nice thing is you don't have to worry about metrics really being faked when you just kind of go to reputable contracts and see the activity on those contracts.
Well, that's interesting. I wasn't going to mention that because in our interview, but how does it stand up to CowSwap?
So, you know, CowSwap, they're an intent-based solver system, right? And so they actually route plenty of traffic through us, you know. So for a long time, about 60%, maybe sometimes 70-75% of all swaps on CowSwap went to the 1 inch aggregator.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we at times would be like, yeah, I mean, it's totally fine that you use CowSwap because you might actually end up using us anyways, right? And then they would do gasless for the user. So it's kind of nice how these building blocks can make a win-win situation for everybody, you know.
Well, and that's what the decentralized economy is all about. You know, it's we're all working together. You know, I always say all around the world, we all agree in 3 things. We believe in ownership, we believe in freedom, and we believe in privacy. And pretty much like wherever you go in the world, you can hop down and you go to a Crypto Monday or you go to wherever it is, and we all pretty much believe those things. And so I think really as we start to realize that moving forward, we can start to influence all of this policy, which is rough for us in the US.
Yeah, especially in the US. You know, I think as more and more people start holding crypto and owning crypto, politicians are going to realize that's getting votes, right?
Yeah.
And once the votes start actually talking, then they have to answer. You know, they can't just ignore it. They can't say it's just all bad. They have to start making real policy. And so I think across the next 5 years, maybe 10, we're going to see incredible progress. I just hope it's soon enough so that the US doesn't lose, you know, its economic power, right? You know,
like already, like so many companies don't want to do anything in the US until it's more
just like
clear.
the SEC wants.
Yeah,
just like the SEC wants, you know. And I mean, if you look back in the 90s, right, the US did so well economically because they embraced the internet, right? They got all the tax revenue from embracing internet companies, right? Like we need them to realize that the same thing's going to happen with crypto. Do we want to ship that? Do we want to export all that economic activity, or do we want to get tax revenue on it? Right?
You hear that, guys? Tanner, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Social website. How do people find you in the company?
Oh yeah, probably just Twitter. You know, it's Tanzors, TANZ0RZ. I just post random stuff on there. If you want to follow me, yeah, go for it.
Awesome. We'll see you soon, guys.
All right. Well, my camera seems to be off, so I am going to go ahead and finish the show. Thanks so much.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost. Become a champion of free speech.